today with ABEM Voices, and I am having the incredible opportunity to speak with Dr. Carl Allamby. Um, my name is Ramon Johnson. I'm the current president of the American Board of Emergency Medicine. It's really exciting for me to really kind of get out and really talk to what I think are just incredible diplomates in the specialty of emergency medicine. So, Dr. Allamby, please, why don't you start by telling me a little bit about yourself?
Oh, well, number one, thanks for having me here today, Dr. Johnson. I was really excited when I got the invitation to speak to you and speak to the ABEM population and to be on this Voices video to share my opinion and some of my life story. So I am an emergency medicine physician here in the great city of Cleveland in Ohio. Work for the Cleveland Clinic. I came to emergency medicine and to medicine kind of as a second career. And later in life, chose that I wanted to go from fixing cars to fixing people. So it's been quite the transition. I've really enjoyed it. It's been really great to join the forces of medicine and to be on the team that provides the care for our communities and for our nation.
So I understand, Dr. Allenby, that you did grow up in Cleveland as well. Tell me a little bit about your childhood and when did you first know you wanted to be a physician?
Yeah, well, I grew up right down the street, ironically, from where I live and from where I work. I grew up in the city of East Cleveland. I decided I wanted to become a doctor at a very young age, but unfortunately, the structure of our school systems and a lot of the life circumstances I live with prevented me from having fulfilling that dream early on. The only time that we were able to really receive health care was when we would have a serious injury or illness, my brothers or sisters or I, and we would go to the local emergency department that was a couple streets over from us. And they provided such wonderful care for us. That hospital is no longer in existence. But it was from those early interactions that I knew that I wanted to become a doctor, that I knew that I wanted to care for others the same way that I had been cared for when I was a young child.
Wow. Let me ask you, were there any mentors that you could point to during your early years that were instrumental in shaping your course for pursuing a career in medicine?
In the early years, no, I didn't really have any mentors during that time. I knew nobody who was in medicine. I mean, I grew up in a blue collar neighborhood where there were janitors and people who worked as bus drivers and auto mechanics and, just worked hard every day and to provide for their families. So I had a lot of great role models of how to work hard and how to grow up as a man, as a family person. But it wasn't until much later on in life that I ran into some people and became friends with some folks that were able to guide me back towards medicine and towards my pathway. Uh, One person, I mean, there were several people, but one person that really stands out in particular is a physician named Dr. Stephanie Gain. But she was an emergency medicine physician, and she invited me to the hospital and said, come as often as you want, uh, and just come in and hang out with me and see how you like it. And so I would work in my business during the day and close up shop and come home and have dinner with my family, and then go down to the emergency department and help out. I would volunteer and get people food or help them out with whatever they needed. And she really gave me a lot of guidance. She gave me a lot of exposure. And ironically, probably as a kid, I was exposed to. I did have a mentor in medicine as a young kid. As I sit here and think about it, but he wasn't a real doctor. It was Denzel Washington
Oh,
on St. Elsewhere, who
yeah.
played as a physician, and he was like one of my early exposures of having just somebody who looked like me, who represented where I came from, or at least some of my background, that I could kind of think of myself in those same shoes.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. Well, I understand that you began working at an auto parts store after graduation from high school, and then eventually you end up buying the place. How did you go from successful businessman back to college and then on to pre-med studies into medical school?
Yeah, well, the story is a little bit different. I worked at this parts store, starting in high school, and I ended up developing a business outside of that because I had a lot of customers who would come into the parts store and buy parts and say, "Hey, did you know anybody who could put these parts on for me?" And I had been working on cars since I was 12 years old. And by the age of 19, I had so many customers and things were booming, but I was working outside. I was kind of just working in the parking lot or at people's houses, fixing their vehicles. But I was able to save up enough money and got a brand new $500 Sears credit card that I was able to use for capital investment to pay my first month's rent and start fixing cars on my own. And the business just grew from there. It just the life of a business owner can be really difficult. You know,
Unlike emergency medicine.
well, one of the reasons why I chose this, but as a business owner, things are just nonstop. There are things that are just coming at you all the time from different angles, problems that you have to solve quickly, customer relations. After 25 years, I felt like I had enough of it. So I figured I'd downshift a little bit and went into medicine.
My next question for you, I think you may have just answered it. I was going to ask you, were there times when you just wanted to kind of give up on the dream of medicine, but it sounds like you were kind of done with the dream of business. So maybe it was just the opposite. Maybe it was time for you to change gears and go into medicine.
It was really time. I've always said that 25 years of doing anything is probably enough. And sometimes you just need a change. Sometimes you just need to do something different. But for me, it was medicine.
It makes total sense. What do you think made you choose emergency medicine over other fields of medicine where you can still deal with people who are broken down more or less, like kind of like automotive engineering? But what made you choose emergency medicine?
Well, I mean, similar, if you think about on your drive to work this morning, if your car would have broken down unexpectedly and you have to call a tow truck and you show up in an automotive shop and you have no idea how long your car is going to be broken or what's wrong with it or why did it fail me and how does my life even go on without my car? And so emergency medicine is so much like that. People are just going about their day and they're living their life and they never expected that today was going to be the day that they were going to suffer tragedy or that they were going to become acutely ill or that they were going to need the expertise of others. Emergency medicine has always felt familiar to me because I was dealing so long in emergency car repair.
Well, let's talk about ABEM a little bit. What do you think it means to be ABEM certified, and how has it impacted your life as a physician, would you say?
Well, as you can imagine, with me being a certified master technician, I've done a lot of testing throughout my life in order to make sure that my skills were up to par and that um, I was well versed with the latest technology. And for me, ABEM has done that same thing. But to be certified in emergency medicine means that I've met some of the highest standards that have been set in the field. Some of the that I hold the qualifications to provide comprehensive, complex medical care to my patients when they need it the most. Because I've always said, throughout both of my careers, that if you understand the foundations, that you could build anything on that. So I really enjoyed the certification process, although it was stressful during testing time. But passing the test and being certified, this really means a lot to me, and I'm proud to hang that certificate on my wall.
What advice do you have for anyone considering ABEM certification or going into emergency medicine?
Well, I would say, embrace the educational process behind becoming certified. That it's so important. Not a test is everything, and you hear people who say, "Well, just because you do well on a test doesn't mean that you're going to be a good clinician." But like I said earlier, it gives you such a foundation of knowledge.
If you were to give any advice to grade school kids who dream about going into medicine, what would you say to them?
Well, I try to put on a few things at some of the local schools here where I demonstrate some things with emergency care for the younger kids who aren't ready to come and be exposed at the hospital level. So we've done things like sutured pig feet and
Great.
had one where I had some of the kids in cervical collars and put them in different splints. Uh, so I try to tell them to keep your mind open to all the different possibilities that are out there, that you could become whatever you want to be.
Well, I'm just going to ask you one last question. What are you going to do next?
Uh, well, I have a few things that I'm working on. I'm actually I took up piano about a year ago.
Oh, I'm
Uh,
so jealous. I wanted to do that my whole career.
yeah, just before coming here, I just had my lesson. My daughter's been taking piano for about 6 or 7 years now, so I'm playing piano with her now, and I'm fumbling. Oh boy, it's hard just moving those fingers in a coordinated fashion and thinking with the left and right part of your brain. But I'm really enjoying that process of learning something new, even still. And besides that, I have a few things that I'm working on. There's a lot of interest in my story, in the way that I've come to medicine. There's a few things that I'm working on that are really exciting, where maybe you'll see me on a larger screen one of these days.
That's a fantastic story, Dr. Allenby. I am so pleased I've had a chance to chat with you.
All right, thank you, Dr. Johnson. I really appreciate you having me here today.
Alrighty. Thanks a lot.